Of course, the senator who has never run anything at all but his mouth would know nothing about helping people and being there for people when they are in trouble.
The Congresswoman likes to talk about helping people. She's never passed a bill. She's never passed a single bill. She's been in Congress for over half a decade. She's never passed a bill.
Tensions ran high during the first and only U.S. Senate debate between incumbent Senator Marco Rubio and Congresswoman Val Demings. The candidates sparred over key issues like inflation, abortion, immigration, and access to guns. And as expected, both parties are claiming victory. I caught up with the chairman of Florida's Democratic Party, Manny Diaz, and Republican State Representative Danielle Perez to get their take on the debate. So if you can give us the report card on how Congresswoman Val Demings did this evening for the first and only debate, what would you grade it?
I think she did exceptionally well. She showed her passion. She is not a polished career politician like her opponent is, but you could tell that she's worked hard. She's got courage. She's going to fight for the people of Florida. And I think that's what we need. We don't need somebody who can sweet talk his way through an hour of a debate based on 24 years of experience, but somebody who actually cares and speaks from the heart and will fight for us when she gets to Washington.
The most recent Mason-Dixon poll, I'm sure you've seen it, has the senator, I believe it's 47 to 41% over the Congresswoman. Do you believe she did what she needed to do to close that gap?
Yeah, I think so, because most of all, what she needs is people to know who she is. You know, campaigns have gotten very expensive, as you know, unfortunately. And what we see in the polling is that people that know her like her much more than the people that know him. He's got much higher negatives. And that's just a function of her having the ability over the next 3 weeks to make sure that more and more people know her. Because when they do know her, they like her and they will vote for her.
Also in the poll was President Biden's disapproval ratings. Over half of the respondents that are likely voters said that they disapprove of the job that he is doing. How do you, as head of the Democratic Party in the state of Florida, how do you work around that?
Well, you have to keep talking about what the accomplishments have been. I mean, they just passed the Inflation Reduction Act. They passed the CHIPS Act, which the senator had to acknowledge today because he voted against it. They have passed the IRA, American Rescue Plan. There's a number of pieces of legislation. They've probably been more successful than any president during their first couple of years. Created, 10 million jobs in the economy. The interest rate is obviously a problem these days. Inflation is probably a problem, but jobs have been created. Unemployment is way down. He has a good record. Unfortunately, and this happens to many presidents, you inherit something that is beyond your control, as in COVID, as in Putin's war in Ukraine, supply shortages with distribution chains. I mean, a series of factors all converged to create the situation that we have economically. But the country is doing very well. People are working. People are making higher wages than they were a couple of years ago, and we just got to work our way through this.
You are Hispanic, and the Republicans also being reported that they're doing a better job in registering Latinos in this election. What is happening with the Latino vote and the Democrats? Actually,
what we're seeing more and more with voter registration as it relates to Latinos is more and more no-party affiliates. I think people are, and that's unfortunate. I think we, and I take full responsibility for the Democratic message not connecting with the Latino community, and they need to know that we're fighting to protect Social Security, that we're fighting to protect Medicare, that we're fighting to get prescription drug costs down, to hold insulin at a cap. All those things that really benefit our community in very, very strong ways, more affordable housing, and things that the Republican Party is opposed to. And you heard it today. I mean, they play the Marxist socialist stupid card because it's playing to people's emotions while at the same time not delivering any results for the people that they represent.
On the governor's race, to get dollars and from the Democratic Party into the state of Florida for this campaign, has it been difficult?
It's been difficult because there's a lot of seats up around the country at the same time, and there's a 50-50 obviously in the Senate. And so the distribution of resources has been a real challenge for us in Florida because we don't have an incumbent that we're trying to protect. And that's what they're trying to do in most of the other states, to protect the 50-50, and trying to do as much as they can for others. But yeah, it's been a struggle.
Your prediction in the state of Florida for the election 3 weeks from today?
I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I think Kansas obviously showed that there are a lot of surprises on the horizon. Florida is not Kansas, and I think we should do. I think we should do very well. Val has to get her name out there more, and Charlie's working really hard. Charlie Crist, and I think we can do this.
Good luck to you, Manny.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks.
Representative Perez, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me, as always.
This week's Senate debate was highly spirited, to say the least. Both sides are claiming victory. Your take on the performances on Tuesday night?
That's the beautiful thing about this country, that both sides can think they won because each of them can give their own opinion. And I guess I'm just one of those masses, but I don't think it was even close. I think Senator Rubio did a phenomenal job. We've seen Senator Rubio on stage many times in this format. I think this was some of his best work. This is a general election, right? This is not a primary election. You're trying to give your message to the greater audience. You're not trying to get a specific party or a specific side of the aisle. I think only one candidate did that yesterday, and it was Senator Rubio. You continuously hear from him over the entire debate how he has passed legislation in a bipartisan manner, whether it was for veterans and the healthcare system, law enforcement, holding China accountable by actual concrete measures moving forward. You only heard that from one candidate, and I think that was Senator Rubio.
What would you say, in your opinion, were some of the highlights?
When the Democratic candidate was asked for her plan against China, all she said was, "We got to hold them accountable. We got to hold them accountable. We got to hold them accountable." Not once was there an actual plan. Not once. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what she's done, what Val Demings has done over the last 6 years. Senator Rubio was accurate. She hasn't passed one piece of legislation, not one. That's based on actual lack of work that he was able to show to the audience, and I think he was the complete opposite. He said, "I passed bills in a bipartisan manner. I work with both sides of the aisle." He was able to speak to Republicans, Democrats, and independents. Val Demings was not able to do that. She's with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time, never voted against her, while at the same time not sponsoring any successful legislation. So I think if you're trying to base your vote off the sample size of leadership of each candidate, only Senator Rubio checks that box. And I think he showed that last night in the debate. He did a phenomenal job. He was cool. He was calm. He was composed. He was professional. And I think you kind of see Val Demings towards the end of that debate losing control of the debate. And I think it was because of the pressure she was receiving, knowing that she was on the wrong side of the debate and the argument or the issue, depending on what question was asked at that time.
Speaking of the issues, many topics that we expected would be addressed were, like foreign policy, you alluded to China, and the economy, and abortion access, which is also an important issue. How would you say the senator handled that issue in his response?
Senator Rubio was very clear. He said, "I'm 100% pro-life." And I think that was a clear answer on where he stands. But the problem that I had with that question was Val Demings' response. She says, "Well, I'm okay with abortion up to the point of viability." And the question in response to her answer was, well, what is viability? Viability could be interpreted as 9 months, 8 months. Some have interpreted in some states as post-birth, literally post-birth. What is viability, Val Demings? And she was not able to answer that. So whether you agree or disagree with Senator Rubio's position, he was able to say he's 100% pro-life. Val Demings wasn't able to give any answer. So although it's a very tough question and it's a tough subject because it's not just policy, it is also faith. And that's why that's always such a tough question. I just commend Senator Rubio for at least giving his response.
The Hispanic vote is increasingly becoming more and more important. Republicans have made inroads, according to the Washington Post. Even though Democrats lead Republicans with Latino voters, the lead is smaller than it was in 2018. Republicans are registering more voters, including Hispanics. Is this a strategy for the midterm elections?
I think it's part of the strategy, Jackie. We want to make sure that we register voters across the spectrum. Here in the state of Florida, for the first time, Republicans outnumbered Democrats when we're talking about registered voters. That has been a decade, 2 decades of effort across the Republican Party, across the state, but we're starting to see it in the Hispanic community. Hispanics, they value opportunity. We want an opportunity to work. We want to be able to take care of our family. We have high values, high morals, and in today's world, that's in line with the Republican Party. We're seeing it based on the numbers. Hispanics are joining the Republican Party quicker than ever. I expect that trend to continue. I think when you look at Florida in comparison to other states, we kept our economy open, our businesses were able to stay open, kids were able to go to school. We allowed for rights to be in the hands of the parents. Those are all things that, for the most part, the Hispanic community is going to see eye to eye with. And I think that trend will continue, not just up until the election in November, but I think past the election in November. I think we'll see this trend well into the presidential election in 2 years.
As we reach the last few weeks until the midterm election, less than 3 weeks now, what is the plan for the final stretch?
The plan is to message the principles and the values of the Republican Party. Jackie, it is that simple. We don't have to get creative. We're on the right side of policy. When you're on the right side of policy, it's easy to message. And I think the Republican Party is there. We've seen it based on the state of Florida through COVID in comparison to the rest of the country. We're not called or coined the free state of Florida thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis by mistake. It's based on the decisions he made that at the time were criticized. And then now we look back and we say, wow, thank God our kids were still able to go to school. Thank God I was able to keep my business open. That's how I was able to feed my family. We give people opportunities in this state. And, I think that's the message that we have to continue to scream from the rostrum. I think we have to make sure that everyone hears us, not just a certain population or a certain demographic or a certain age group or a certain sex or a certain religion. Our tent is large, and we welcome all under our tent, and that's the message.
And finally, I know that you're touring Southwest Florida, looking firsthand at the damage there. Can you describe to us what you have experienced?
The damage that happened in Southwest Florida was very real. The pictures and videos you are seeing, they don't even speak to a tenth of the damage that is reality in this part of the state. I commend Governor Ron DeSantis for the recovery effort that he has led. I mean, Jackie, we reconstructed a bridge in 3 days in order to make sure that people on certain islands, Captiva, Sanibel Island, were able to get resources. 3 days. That's unheard of. The federal government has also sent their funds and has been paying close attention to what's been going on down in Southwest Florida. It's just been a time of bipartisanship, which is refreshing, especially in election time when bipartisanship isn't at the forefront, as we saw in the debate last night. But this is a place that will need a lot of work. What's sad to me is this is one of the last places of what I like to call old Florida. This is character. This is personality. This is tradition. And Hurricane Ian wiped a lot of that away. And so it is sad to see that. But I have absolutely all the faith in the world that Southwest Florida will bounce back stronger, better, faster, bigger. It's just a matter of making sure the resources are there. And look, the manpower is here. People are on the ground. We're working all the time, led by the local leaders here. And, I see certain state representatives that serve with me in the House, Mr. Roach, Mike Gianlombardo, Adam Botana, Fiona McFarland, some of these people that are they're all in, and I commend them for that. And I'm hoping that continues as we start to rebuild this part of the state.
Representative Daniel Perez, thank you so much as always for joining us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jackie.